I do absolutely go acquire Lowry and take a run at a title right now. And then as time goes on, I build with Hero and Bam. And I build around that in some form. That'll be the next iteration.
Yes,
but for this next 2 to 3 year window,
I should just hire you as general manager. You get the whole vision. The Mismatch, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook.
You started off your column talking about Miami and about Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Now, I am of the opinion that okay, so you chronicle like kind of Miami and that they're the most serious about it and that obviously they'd have to give up some real stuff in order to attain him. I would try, if I'm them, there's no way I'm giving up Tyler Hero.
No,
I'm just not doing that.
Can't.
That's a non-starter for me. He was 19 last year playing in the finals, right? Like I'm not.
They are not going to give up Tyler. Just to give some context, I reported that Miami is going hard after Kyle Lowry, that Jimmy Butler is one of the reasons why, that they have that connection. Butler and Lowry have been friends for many, many years, and that Toronto would want Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero in a deal. Miami's not giving up Tyler Hero. Well, they might give up Duncan Robinson, but let me just, I have more to add though. Like, all right. I've also been told that right now Miami has not yet offered Duncan Robinson, that they are offering Precious Achiuwa, Kelly Olynyk, and Kendrick Nunn in some type of mix to meet the salary requirements to get Kyle Lowry. And Miami is trying to get Oklahoma City to change protections on the 2023 first-round pick owed to them so they can trade it for Lowry to free up more picks. So they're trying to do a couple of different things here. And the Sixers aren't out on Lowry either. The Sixers are not out on Lowry. They're trying to figure out deals, including three-way deals, to get something to work out in order to bring Kyle Lowry to Philly, maybe with a young player like a Matisse Thybulle with a first-round draft pick in there. And
he doesn't want to give up Maxey, though.
It doesn't seem like Maxey's in that as of now. But Philly and Miami are both trying to get creative to get Kyle Lowry to bolster their championship hopes. That's happening right now, and we'll see what happens. A lot of this is going to come down to Kyle Lowry himself. Whether he doesn't have a no-trade clause, but he might as well. From what I understand is that Masai Ujiri is not going to trade him unless he wants to get traded, unless he is open to being traded to Miami or Philly, which I think he would be to go win a championship.
It's funny. Well, that would be Olynyk going back home, by the way, Canadian guy. Yeah. So he'd be getting to go to play for his play in the motherland.
To Tampa for now, though.
Well, yeah, I guess he's not getting to go to the motherland. But I will say, if I'm Masai, I get Robinson. You know what I mean? I get Robinson in the deal. I get Nunn and Robinson and Olynyk. Well, or, you know what I'm saying?
I think it would end up being Precious Achiuwa and Duncan Robinson, that they will have enough leverage to ask for that much. Toronto is in a position right now, they aren't even sure they want to trade Lowry. Mm-hmm. Toronto is split in their front office whether to deal him or not, which is why it's a thing that comes down to Lowry and Masai Ujiri more than anybody else. Like there's others on the front office where they have, thoughts and opinions on what should be done, but this is about Masai and Kyle Lowry. So we'll see what level those offers reach from Miami and Philadelphia.
Well, and
I would expect them to go up more though. You
mentioned this in your column, and this is a big factor in this. It honestly depends on how you think he fits, and I'm talking about Duncan Robinson, how you think he fits, and are you going to be the one that pays him in the offseason, right? Because if you're acquiring that, thinking I'm acquiring a guy that now I'm going to be able to have for 4 or 5 years going forward, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because you just saw Joe Harris. Joe Harris got $72 million 4 years. Duncan Robinson gets what, 70% of that, 75% of that, 50 plus million got possibly. 80. I know. It's very possible Duncan Robinson gets 50 plus million or 60 plus million. Not out of the question. And Miami, I don't think would want to pay that. Toronto, you need to decide if that's what you're willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. And I actually do think that Miami, look, we know that Riley is a go-for-it guy anyway. Yeah. I look at it and say this. How many more years do I have of Butler being that dude? The guy that can be the guy that that's my go-to guy. That's my guy that's getting it done when it comes playoff time, when it comes NBA Finals time. We just saw him on that stage last year. It's a few, right? It's a few. So that's my best players. I can worry about the next iteration of the Heat, but when I've got Jimmy and I've got Goran Dragic as two of my main pieces on this team, then I do absolutely go acquire Lowry and take a run at a title right now. And then as time goes on, I build with Hero and Bam. And I build around that in some form. That'll be the next iteration. Yes, but for this next 2 to 3 year window,
I should just hire you as general manager. You get the whole vision.
It's just, look, it depends on how good and how much time. It'd be foolishness for the Lakers to look towards the future when you've got LeBron right now at this moment. You know, when you've got a guy that's ready to be the man on the highest level, and you've got it's a blessing to be able to have that kind of a guy. But that's not happening in 4 years from now. Jimmy Butler's not going to be the best player on a title team in 4 years. He's not going to be in 3 years. But for this year, next year,
3 years, I mean, can't rule that out. The way guys age, you can't rule that out, Chris.
It maybe. But
to point to your point, you have to maximize the opportunity that's here now. We just talked earlier about how the title window was open. Yep. Miami was just in the finals. They just went to a game 6 with Bam missing games, with Dragic not being the same. Like, they had guys out and they went to a game 6 against the Lakers. This team is close. And the way they're performing right now, their defense is elite. Their offense is not elite. And Kyle Lowry would inject the pick and roll playmaking presence that they need in the perimeter. And if you were to give up Duncan Robinson, Lowry's also a knockdown shooter off the catch, off of handoffs, off of screens. He can be utilized in that role to at least help alleviate what you lose in that Bam Robinson handoff game. You know, like they do that around the elbow. Duncan Robinson comes off and drains some threes. Lowry can do that too. So they could replace that and have a higher level player.
And he's been playing in Florida, and he's big buddies with Jimmy Butler, so we know that one. Yeah. On the other side, I do wonder if, especially after the Harden thing played out the way it did, if Daryl in Philly says, no, we already had that one go against us.
We're not missing Lowry.
I'm trumping deals.
Yeah.
And end of story. So call me first, Masai, because I'm gonna give you the best deal on this. I'm not letting Brooklyn get Harden and then Miami get Lowry, and I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs like that. This can't be. And so I do think that there's a real chance that I think Philly would be even more enthused to go for this, even if it means giving up some stuff they didn't want to, because you probably, I would imagine, wake up every day going, we should have just freaking done the Harden thing. You know, I mean, there's at least part of you that's got to think that. And interestingly enough, once upon a time, I interviewed Daryl, and his favorite trade he ever made was for Kyle Lowry in Houston. It was his favorite deal he ever made. That's the one he's like, He told me that was his favorite deal he ever made. The most proud.
Okay.
He was.
So he can go back and get him now.
Yep. Was getting Kyle Lowry.
And this could be his second favorite trade or his new favorite trade, right?
Right.
Well, I guess Harden might be his favorite trade now when he traded him. Was this interview before he got Harden in Houston or after he got Harden in Houston?
Harden was there. We were just talking about throughout the time.
Okay,
because, look, he had an owner, again, the owner now is a buffoon, but the guy before, Les Alexander, they were never going to tank.
You never read Fertitta's "Shut Up and Listen"?
Shut the hell up, or whatever.
Yeah, "Shut Up and Listen." It's called.
Oh yeah. The former owner, like Daryl, had to keep on, like he kept on rebuilding on the fly, right? without getting terrible. That wasn't an option. He didn't have the option of his buddy Sam Hinkie to just say, all right, we're going to go to hell and be terrible. So he had those iterations where it was like Lowry, Battier, Ron Artest, like Chuck Hayes, like that whole crew. And so building that and still being pretty good and consistently making the playoffs and then building on the fly, like that was, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's surprising that it's those kind, and Lowry turning into what he turned into, because that's a big home run.
Sure.
Now, obviously, they ended up moving him, but
nevertheless. But, anyway, but with Philly, Lowry, everything we just talked about with Miami, the pick and roll playmaking and all that, that's exactly what the Sixers need. They need that perimeter shot creator who can get a bucket for you at the end of the clock for himself or for others.
He's a great fit with either.
A perfect fit.
Well, the other thing is that, like the Philly thing, he's a Philly kid, went to Villanova.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
so it's about you get to go home,
homecoming.
Or you get to go play with one of your best friends in the league, Jimmy Butler, in Miami, and try to win there. And because, by the way, with Kyle Lowry, he's still so good, still an all-star caliber player that even as he turns 35 years old on deadline day, he can get worse and still be good. He still has more years left to give to the NBA playing at a really high level. So for either team, Philly or Miami, big time addition if they're able to get Kyle Lowry.